Small Finance Bank. He wants to know about this particular counter. What should Soumitra do if he already has a holding in Ujjivan Small Finance Bank?
So, Cheryl, we used to have coverage on Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. I'm not too sure whether currently it still holds or not, but this microfinance sector overall will take a little bit of more time to recover in terms of earnings growth and visibility post the pandemic and the issues that weigh on this particular sector. So if you're a long-term investor, then I think you can act accordingly. Unfortunately, I won't be able to comment buy, sell and hold since the coverage, I'm not too sure whether it still holds or not.
The next question is on Birla Corp. We've got a question from Lakshman and he's wondering whether he can buy, Kunal, 100 shares at the current level, and he's looking at a 2-year time horizon. Should he?
I think you can look to buy at current levels. I would sense that many of these stocks are now trying to form some sort of a bottom formation over here at current levels. So Birla Corp has done exceptionally well over a longer term kind of time frame as well. So I believe that at current levels should be a good price to buy, specifically if you have a very clear view in terms of time frame that's 2 years or plus.
Alright, this one is from KR Balan and he wants to buy Maithan Alloy at current market price for the short to medium term. He wants to know whether it's a wise idea to do so, or if not, which other mid-cap stock can he look at, Kunal?
Well, I frankly don't track Maithan Alloys, but I think if you're looking to, I'll take it more in a broader sense that if you're looking to probably buy or chip into metals or commodity things, then I think sticking to large cap names itself could be a very handsome kind of a reward from a longer term play. I think names like Tata Steel, JSW Steel, they look quite formidable from a longer term play. And if you want to venture into some slight high beta names, then I would suggest picking up maybe a JSPL or SAIL.
We've got, Kunal, an interesting question coming in from Vimal. He's looking to play the building materials team, and I know that we spoke about the realty space, so I'd be keen to find out. He's looking at stocks like Century Ply or Green Ply. He's wondering whether to take any of these, or would you suggest another name from the building material space?
I've been tracking these stocks, Century Ply and Green Ply. The only concern with these kind of names is the consistent kind of price uptick which these stocks have shown, and hardly any major kind of periods of price correction like what we've seen the last a week, 10 days as well for Century Ply. I think if I'm not wrong, the stock made a high closer to 705, 700, and now it's come back to 655, 657 for itself. So which means that the correction has been very shallow. Now this has been on the background of where the stock has performed in the last 12 to 18 months. It's been a phenomenal performance for many of these building material stocks. So I would suggest that if you're looking to buy, chip into these names from a longer term play, wait for a sizable correction to come by, at least a retracement of the 50-day moving average. That should be a first level where you can look to start entering into the stock. So you have to be patient enough, wait for the precise points in terms of time period. I think if you get that opportunity, that would be a better opportunity rather than buying the stocks at much elevated levels. And in case if there is a time-wise correction or a price correction, then you're caught buying the stock at a higher price trajectory. So I would suggest wait for 50 DMA as a good level to try and chip into the stock.
Alright, this one is coming from Padma Balan and wants to know whether buying Airtel at current price is a good investment for short to medium term. No doubt this week we did talk about the telecom sector in depth, Kunal, especially Bharti Airtel, but just to recap, do you think that does it make sense for Padma to go ahead and buy Airtel at current levels for the short to medium term?
I think yes, from a short to medium term, I think with specifically medium term or higher, then I think makes sense to try and buy Bharti Airtel. It's not a stock which should be taken as more of a trading stock, because there will be periods of lull into the stock. You see, right now the stock is into the thick of news flow and price activity, and which is why you're seeing the stock in high momentum. But there would be a phase where the stock would get into an absolute sideways range, lack of news flow. So possible that the trading activity would probably get a bit muted for Bharti Airtel. So if you're okay with trying to incorporate these phases as well, then it makes sense to add Bharti Airtel to your portfolio. And I would also suggest that look at maybe Reliance Industries as well at current juncture. I think the stock has already corrected more than 10 to 12% from its previous recent swing high. So specifically from an entry point as well as from a price perspective, I think both these stocks are looking attractive from a long-term play.
Okay, let's take a question from Krish from Chennai. He's writing in and he's saying, Gaurang, that he's got PI Industries based on your recommendation. I think, I don't know when you've given this, but he's been holding this in his portfolio. He says that it's come off its peak by about 10%. He's wondering whether he can add more at this juncture.
Well, so Alex, if I recollect and if my memory serves me right, the levels were somewhere close to about 1600, 1800 when, and of course before that also we had a coverage, but I had recommended this at those levels, and from those levels the stock has almost more than doubled. And if he's bought it at those levels which I would have recommended, then my request to him would be that at least bring home 50% of your, or maybe more, you can sell and bring home at least the capital and maybe 15-20% of profits, sell that much of quantity, and then stay invested in the rest. By this you will be bringing home your capital and profits, and the balance investment will be of zero investment value, and thereby you can have a good night's sleep.
Okay, this one is from Sapna and she wants a view on Radico Khaitan and MTAR Tech. Either Radico Khaitan or MTAR Tech, either one of them, Gaurang. What's your view on that, on either of these stocks? If Sapna wants to invest, do you think it makes sense to go ahead? Because we've seen Radico Khaitan actually rally quite a bit as well, and MTAR is fairly a recently listed counter.
I won't comment on Radico Khaitan, Cheryl, because we don't have a coverage, but MTAR Technologies is something that we had given an IPO note and subscribed from a long-term point of view. And MTAR Tech, Cheryl, is one of those niche and marquee businesses which you do not have any peer comparison to compare with. Nuclear science, space technology, clients like ISRO are clients of MTAR Technologies. And I was listening into the verbatim post the second quarter earnings of MTAR management, and they sound extremely confident and strong in terms of order book growth and execution going forward. So if you are a long-term investor, you can possibly look at MTAR Technologies.
Okay. Graphite India is the next stock that we're talking about, and we've got Raghu from Bengaluru who's writing in. He's holding at an average cost of 778, and he's wondering whether to average his cost at this juncture. Kunal, what's the view on the charts?
Yes, I think Graphite India, HEG, both of these stocks have corrected sharply in the last 5-6 months, more or less, I think, in very similar price trends with what we've seen for the entire metal and commodity space. But I believe that these stocks, they have a tendency of getting into sharp periods of uptrend and very sharper periods of correction as well. Look at the rally for Graphite India. I think from the October 2020 20 lows of I think 160 or 180, the stock jumped up to almost 800 or 785, and from there it's corrected back towards retracing. So it's now getting into a retracement mode. If you have bought at higher levels, I would suggest that you can average at current levels. But again, case in point is that you have a higher risk appetite, as well as a time frame of holding of the stock for at least 12 to 18 months, if not more.
Okay, this one is from Shanwaga Sundaram on Amara Raja Batteries. He has 100 shares which he's purchased at 740 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he can average it now. What's your take, Kunal? What should Shanwaga do with this holding in Amara Raja Batteries? Should he go ahead and average?
Many of these auto and stocks, they are getting into a phase of extremely oversold natures of price trends for themselves. So Amara Raja Battery, for example, from I think 800 levels, the stock has now come back to 620, 625, where it tested or made a low, I think, a couple of days back. So it's been a very sharp correction for these kind of names. You're bound to see some bounce back into these kind of stocks after a 20 to 25% correction into these names. So I would sense that it's a bounce back process which is happening for Amara Raja Batteries. You should wait for maybe some more time let the prices show signs that it's not just a short-term rally, but it's a start of a trend coming out for themselves. We can gauge that by looking at volumes, the consistency of prices gaining up higher on a regular basis. If we see those price patterns developing, then it makes sense to buy the stock. So it could be a buying at higher levels as well. But that's where I think the conviction could be much higher for Amara Raja Battery.
All right. Let's take a question from Venkataraman, who is writing in from Hyderabad. I think I know the answer to this query already, Gaurang, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Canara Bank or State Bank of India, which one would you pick for the long term?
State Bank of India, and you're absolutely right. You guessed the answer right, Alex.
Okay. Then I've got a follow-up. I've got another question for you. Camlin Fine Sciences is the name of the counter. 197 per share. We've got a viewer who is writing in saying that they've got a loss of 25%. What should the strategy be at this point? Should they average at this current juncture? How do you see it on the fundamentals?
I'll give it a pass because we don't have a coverage on this one. Sorry about that.
No problem. Kunal, I'll come to you on this next one, or rather on the same one. We've got Camlin Fine bought at levels of 197. Would you average at the current price? The view is for at least a year.
I think yes, could be a good level to try and average. For Camlin Fine, even though it's a stock which has corrected from 225 to 22, 150 or 155 where the stock is trading. So it's already seen a correction of more than 30 to 35% in that sense. But I would sense that the stock is trying to get back into settling into a range. As such, it's possible that the stock may take some time to try and pick up its rally and start a strong trend for itself. But in terms of price wise, I think it's a good level to try and chip into the stock. If you've bought at higher levels, I think 150 approximately could be a good zone where you can look to average.
Right. I have a couple of actually short-term queries, but I will take this one first. And this one is from Vignesh, and he wants to know about Bajaj Consumer. Is it a good stock to buy from a long-term perspective? He's already holding 100 shares, with 100 shares, which he bought at 250 rupees per share levels. But he wants to know, should he continue to hold on to it for the longer term? What's your take, Gaurang? Bajaj Consumer, do you think it's a good buy for the longer term? Vignesh has already purchased into this counter.
Well, generally no specific coverage, but as a brokerage house, we have a positive coverage on Godrej Consumer Products and Tata Consumer. And in terms of earning visibility and growth also, these two companies look much more stronger.
Okay, let's take another question then. We've got a question coming in from Airwin, and he's got Tata Teleservices bought at levels of 70 rupees. Kunal, what's the view here on the charts?
Alex, I don't track the stock, so won't be able to offer any comment over here.
Okay, fair enough. We've got Prajwal from Mysore who's asking about, okay, and just a small request to the viewers tuning in, if you can possibly choose stocks that are either mid cap or large cap. If you choose micro cap stocks, it becomes very difficult for us to get a view on either the charts or in fact on the fundamentals. So questions on penny stocks, for example, should be avoided in most cases. We've got a question now. I'd request actually Cheryl to take over from this point, because I've got quite a few that are of that nature. So I'm going to have to find another one.
Problem, Alex. I have a couple of questions that I can throw at Kunal, because there are a couple of short-term queries that I've got, and this one is from Jairaj, and he wants a short-term view on either Greaves Cotton or Fortis Healthcare. He's from Bangalore, so he wants a short-term view. So either Greaves Cotton or Fortis Healthcare, which one of them you want to talk about, Kunal? What should Jairaj do? Does it make sense for either of the stocks for him to look at this juncture?
So I think from a very short term specifically, point of view, I would suggest maybe Greaves Cotton could actually turn out to be a good buy. In fact, I've been tracking this stock quite closely over the last 1 week because of the fact that it's gained some good momentum it's bounced back exactly from its 200-day moving average. That's the best part about the stock price, because then it's completed a mean reversion, completed a correction for itself, and then looking quite strong and gaining momentum for itself. So I think from a short-term point of view, Greaves Cotton looks attractive. If I'm not wrong, it's placed at 159, 160 levels for itself. And if the momentum sustains, you could look at 180 as a possible target over the very, very near term. So I would suggest the buy on Greaves Cotton. Stop loss for this trade, you can keep it at approximately 152 on closing basis.
Gaurang, we spoke about this on the previous segment, the BNS and length segment. We spoke about realty stocks, but we got a viewer coming in from Chennai, S. Gopalakrishnan, who's asking for one or two picks from the realty space. Would you mind repeating that?
So Alex, I restricted my comments on the sector intentionally because we used to cover Shobha Limited, Godrej Properties, Prestige Estates, Oberoi Realty, but in the recent surge that we saw in the share prices, all of them have actually hit and are above our target prices. So we don't have any coverage currently. But like I mentioned, Alex, you should possibly concentrate on strong balance sheet with low debt, less leverage, and more importantly, credible management who have track record of successful completion of projects. And this is very necessary in the real estate sector. Unfortunately, I won't be any stock specific since most of these names that I've spoken about, which were under coverage, has overshot our target prices.
One is from Ujwal, and he wants to know about Infosys. Is it okay to buy Infosys at current levels for the short term? Kunal, do you think it's fine to buy Infosys right now for the short term?
Well, I would suggest a wait and watch. Even though I think Infosys has been one of the strongest stock, from the IT pack, large cap wise specifically, where it's been more resilient towards correction. But then, the fact that the stock is nearing a break below its 50-day moving average. I think today for a brief period intraday wise, the stock was trading below its 50-day moving average. It's bounced back marginally from those levels. But I would sense that maybe a wait and watch, because if the stock consistently closes below its 50-day moving average, it could lead into a correction for this IT major as well. So I would suggest a wait and watch, at least as of now.
We've got now time to hit the rapid fire segment. Remember, gentlemen, this is where you give your answers in a relatively shorter span of time. I will start with a query on SBI Cards, and this one's for you, Gaurang. We've got a viewer who got allotment in the IPO. He's holding currently. Should he continue to do so?
Well, IPO allotment, you should not be worried. Have a good night's sleep and hold the stock from a long-term point of view.
You, Gaurang, because you did speak about PI industry, but KJ Singh wants to know whether it makes sense to make a fresh entry into this counter for the longer term. So should he go ahead and buy currently?
Well, I think one should wait for a dip because the stock has been an outperformer, Cheryl. So yes, positive, but wait for a correction and buy on dips. That would be a better strategy.
Kunal, Havells is the name of the counter, currently trading about 0.33% higher on the National Stock Exchange from what I can see. I hope that my screen is correct. We've got a viewer, Aarti, who's asking whether it can be bought at the current juncture.
Well, I would suggest to buy above 1420 spot levels, because that would probably complete a cup and handle pattern for Havells. That would be a bullish indicator. Wait for a breakout above 1420.
This one is from Manohar. He is holding about 10 shares of Cartrade from 1100 levels. What should I do? I can hold for the longer term. What's your take, Gaurang? Do you cover Cartrade, fairly recently listed counter?
So Cheryl, yes, we had a IPO coverage from a long-term point of view, and if you are in the stock from a long-term point of view, continue to hold.
Another one for you, Gaurang. Axis Bank bought in an average price of 770. Should they buy more at this juncture? Suresh is asking.
So yes, we have a positive coverage, and I think banking and finance is a sector which will possibly outperform given the positive tailwinds.
Okay, this one is from Manpreet, has 50 shares of Alkyl Amines at 37.20. Should I hold, average or exit? He has a long-term view for 5 to 7 years. What's your take, Gaurang, on this one? Alkyl Amines, do you think he should hold, average or exit?
Well, unfortunately, don't have a coverage, but I think the sector looks extremely promising. Shweta, I'm with 18 now, right? 11.
With the,
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in and for sharing your views. Viewers, if we missed out your query, it wasn't intentional, it's just that we ran out of time. Do stay tuned though. We will take your queries over the course of the day, or rather over the course of tomorrow and day after. Apologies for that. We're slipping into a short break. Kunal and Gaurang, thanks as always for joining in. Do stay tuned, lots more coming up.